The stars were no longer safe. Once the galaxy was full of light and peace. Many alien races lived together in harmony. They built cities on moons, flew across star systems, and shared knowledge freely. They believed war was behind them. But they were wrong. A new enemy rose from the dark edges of space. They were called the Zarketh. No one knew where they came from. No one had seen their true faces. The Zarketh didn't talk. They only attacked. Planet by planet, system by system. They burned everything. Their warships were huge, black, and silent. Their weapons melted steel. Their machines harvested the dead. The peaceful alliance of alien worlds tried to fight back. They failed. Within months, over 50 planets were lost. Entire civilizations were erased. The Zarketh never took prisoners. They didn't stop to explain. They destroyed everything. In the end, the Alliance had no choice. They sent out a signal, one last cry for help. It was short, simple, and desperate. To anyone listening, we need help. We are dying. Most thought it was pointless. Who else was left? The other empires were gone, hiding or too afraid. The signal drifted through space like a lost scream, fading across the stars. But someone heard it. A planet that had long been forgotten. A place the galaxy feared, even without knowing why. Earth. No one in the Alliance remembered much about Earth. Long ago they had marked it as a death world, a planet too dangerous to visit. The creatures there were wild. The environment was violent. Even the humans were known to be aggressive and unpredictable. So the galaxy stayed away. No trade, no contact, just silence. But now, Earth had responded. On a small station above a ruined moon, the last command center of the Alliance received a strange signal. The message was short. We received your call. Earth is sending help. Confusion spread. Earth? The Deathworlders? Why would they respond now? And what kind of help were they sending? One of the commanders, a thin alien with golden skin named Rihal, stood staring at the message screen. This can't be real, he whispered. Deathworlders do not help. They destroy. His assistant, a young cadet named Silo, looked worried. Should we respond? Rihal shook his head. It's too late. Because something else had already arrived. The space around the station began to shake. At first it felt like an engine rumbling. Then came the light, long, sharp lines appearing across the stars. 1, 2, 10, 20 ships dropped, out of faster-than-light travel. They were massive. Black metal, sharp angles, glowing red engines. No flags, no greetings, no words, just silence. But there was no doubt. This was Earth's fleet. Rihal watched from the observation deck as the ships formed a perfect formation. They didn't drift. They didn't wobble. They moved like blades. Sharp, smooth, deadly. This is not a rescue mission, he said softly. This is war. A deep voice came through the comms. Human. Calm. Cold. This is Fleet Admiral Kane of Earth's Warborn Division. We received your signal. You are now under Earth's protection. Stand down. Do not interfere. Then the transmission ended. No questions. No meetings. No introductions. Earth had spoken. Inside one of the great ships, Admiral Kane stood with his officers. His eyes were hard like stone. Around him, the humans prepared silently. They didn't smile. They didn't talk much. Their uniforms were dark. Their weapons were ready. A younger officer turned to him. Admiral, the alien station looks peaceful. Should we try to communicate further? Kane shook his head. They called us. That was their first mistake, he said. We don't come with words. We come with action. He turned to the screen showing the enemy fleet far in the distance. Find the Zarketh, study them, then erase them. Back at the station, Rihal watched as small drones flew out from the human ships. They scanned everything. Enemy ships, damaged colonies, even the Alliance vessels. Silo stepped beside him, nervous. "Commander, do you think they will help us?" Rihal didn't answer at first. Then he said, "They will help, but I fear we won't survive the help they bring." Far away, deep in Zarketh space, an old listening post picked up strange movement. An AI system reported, "Unknown fleet approaching. Not Zarketh. Extreme threat level." Defense systems engaged, but it was already too late, because Earth's fleet had awakened, and nothing would be the same again. The moment the human ship opened, everything changed. The alien commanders had gathered in the docking bay of the last Alliance station. They stood side by side, tall ones, small ones, some with scales, some with fur. All of them were silent, nervous. Watching the black ship in front of them, it was silent too. Too quiet. No sound. No welcome. Then, the ramp lowered, and from the smoke stepped a human. He was tall, dressed in dark armor that moved like it was alive. His face was cold, unreadable. A red line glowed across his chest. Not for decoration, but as a warning. This was Commander Dax, one of Earth's Warborn. He didn't smile. He didn't bow. He simply looked around the room, calm, sharp, and dangerous. Some of the aliens took a step back. Silo, the young alien cadet, felt something strange in his chest. Not just fear, something deeper. This creature was born for war. Commander Rihal stepped forward. He tried to hide the shaking in his hands. "Welcome to the Alliance station," he said carefully. Thank you for coming." Dax didn't nod. He didn't blink. Instead, he said in a quiet voice, "You asked for help. Help has arrived." Another human walked in behind him, shorter, with dark eyes and a glowing tablet. She started scanning everything, the walls, the people, even the air. "What are you doing?" Rihal asked. The woman answered without looking up. "Checking for weaknesses." "In our station?" "In everything," she replied. Dax spoke again. "Where is your battle data?" Rihal hesitated. "You mean reports on the Zarketh?" "Yes. Show us what you know. We will learn. We will strike." Rihal slowly handed over a data crystal. "But we don't know much. They are powerful. Too powerful." Dax took the crystal, turned, and handed it to the woman. Then he said, "No such thing." Inside the human ship, the crew worked without rest. Every screen showed maps, ships, weapons, enemy movements. Every hand moved with precision. There was no laughter, no fear, only focus. Admiral Kane watched the Zarketh fleet on the screen. "They move like predators," he said, "but they've never met us." Back on the station, Silo couldn't stop watching the humans. They were different. Most species showed fear before battle. But the humans seemed hungry, like they were waiting for something exciting to begin. Silo turned to Rihal. "Sir, have you ever seen anyone like them?" Rihal shook his head. "They are not like us. They never were." The Alliance commanders held a short meeting. Some were hopeful, some were scared. "They can help us," one said. "They are monsters," said another. "I've seen their history. Earth was always fighting, even with themselves." Rihal listened, then stood. "They came because we called," he said. "Now we must see what kind of help they bring." On the bridge of the lead human ship, a warning flashed. Zarketh patrol detected 6 ships, heading toward a colony outpost. Admiral Kane leaned forward. "Ready the fleet," he said. A young pilot asked, "Should we warn the Alliance?" "No," Kane replied. "They asked for help. They don't need to see what help looks like." 12 human ships moved in silence. No music, no speeches, just cold engines and war-born silence. They didn't wait for orders from the aliens. They didn't ask for permission. They saw the enemy, and they moved. From a distance, Silo saw the black ships vanish into space. Where are they going? He asked. Rihal said nothing. He already knew. In deep space, the Zarketh patrol flew smoothly until the human fleet dropped in. The Zarketh didn't understand. The enemy ships were smaller, fewer in number. They had no fear. The Zarketh opened fire. And in that moment, they made their first mistake. Human ships danced through the stars like shadows. Lasers hit shields and bounced off. Earth's weapons were sharper, smarter, faster. One by one, the Zarketh ships exploded, cut clean in half, burned from inside, disabled in seconds. The battle lasted 3 minutes. Not a single human ship was touched. Admiral Kane watched the yell, wreckage on the screen. He turned to his officers. Send the pieces back to the Alliance station. Let them see what happens when Earth wakes. Back at the station, alarms beeped. Something was approaching fast, but it wasn't enemy fire. It was wreckage, chunks of Zarketh metal, twisted remains, a clear message. Dax stood beside Rihal as the wreckage passed the window. That was your enemy, Dax said. Rihal looked shocked. You destroyed them all that quickly? Dax finally gave a small smile. We haven't even started. The galaxy had seen many wars, but none like this. For centuries, alien civilizations believed in peace. They built alliances, wrote treaties, and taught that violence was only for the past. But now, the past was here again. The Zarketh were moving fast. Each week, another world was lost. The alliance was breaking. And the humans? They were just getting started. At the edge of a burning star system, the human fleet floated like silent hunters. Not hiding, just waiting. Inside the command ship, Admiral Kane stood over a digital map showing the enemy's next target, a colony world named Valar 9. Valar 9 had no army, only farmers and engineers. It was undefended. The Zarketh were on their way. But so was Earth. Time to arrival? Kane asked. Zarketh ships reach the planet in 3 hours, an officer said. We can get there in 2. Kane nodded. Then we hit first. Back on the Alliance station, Rihal and the other commanders watched the humans prepare. They're not just fighting, said one alien. They're hunting. Silo, watching beside Rihal, asked quietly, why do they fight like this? Rihal looked at the screen where the black ships were leaving again. Because this is not a war for them, he said. This is what they were born to do. On Valar 9, the colonists were packing to flee. Ships were full. Panic filled the air. Then, the sky opened. At first, they feared it was the Zarketh, but it wasn't. It was Earth. The human ships entered orbit without sound. Black giants in the blue sky. People on the ground watched in silence. Then they saw something strange. The human ships didn't just fly by. They deployed. Dozens of drop pods launched toward the surface. Each one hit the ground like a meteor. The Y. Dust cleared. Doors opened, and the Warborn stepped out. Heavy armor, red visors, guns like no one had ever seen. They didn't speak. They simply marched. Commander Dax led the ground force. His face was calm, his voice cold. Form defensive circle. Civilian shield in place. No Zarketh passes this point. Behind him, humans set up defense towers, drone lines, and auto turrets, all in minutes. Machines moved on their own. AI cannons locked on the sky. Valar 9 was now a battlefield, and Earth owned it. 2 hours later, the Zarketh arrived. There, ships fell from the sky like dark rain, sharp, silent, deadly. They didn't talk. They didn't warn. They just attacked. But they didn't expect what waited below. As the first wave of Zarketh dropped from the sky, turrets opened fire. Human railguns tore through armor. Plasma fields burned enemies before they touched the ground. Drones moved like angry wasps, cutting and slicing with perfect aim. The Zarketh kept coming, but so did the humans. Dax stood on a hill with his rifle in hand. A giant Zarketh creature charged at him. 8 legs, sharp teeth, covered in dark plates. Dax didn't flinch. 1 shot. Straight through the eye. The beast fell. He didn't even stop walking. The colonists watched from shelters underground. One young girl turned to her father and asked, "Who are they?" He whispered, "Monsters. But they're on our side." In space, Admiral Kane watched the battle unfold. He wasn't surprised. He had seen it all before. "We strike fear first," he said to his officers. "Then we strike again." He pointed to a distant red dot on the map, the main Zarketh base in this region. "Target that hive. Send the second fleet." Back on Valor 9, the battle was nearly over. Zarketh bodies lay burning. Human soldiers stood untouched, armor glowing under the twin suns. Commander Dax looked around. "Clean sweep," one soldier reported. "We lost no one." Dax gave a single nod. "Then we send a message." That night, the stars above Valor 9 lit up again, but this time with something strange. The wreckage of Zarketh ships had been lifted into orbit and burned into pieces. Each one carried a message carved into the metal. "Earth stands here. Come, if you dare." The Zarketh did not reply, but deep in their dark corner of space, they noticed. This enemy was not like the others. They didn't beg. They didn't hide. They fought with fire in their blood. And they were coming. The humans had won the first battle, but it wasn't over. The Zarketh still controlled hundreds of systems. Their main command center, called Hive Prime, was deep inside a dying star system. It was old, dark, and full of death. No species had ever dared go near it. Now the humans were going straight into its heart. Admiral Kane stood before a massive screen aboard his command ship. "Hive Prime," he said, pointing at the glowing red system. "That's where they control the war. Kill the hive, and the rest will fall apart." The room was quiet. His officers looked at each other. One asked, "No species has ever made it back from Hive Prime. Not even the scouts." Kane turned slowly. "We're not other species." Commander Dax and his war-born unit had already begun preparing. Earth didn't believe in slow war. They believed in ending it fast. "You want to win a war?" Dax said. "Then break the enemy's mind. Show them no one is safe, not even at home." Back on the Alliance station, the leaders were in shock. "They're going where?" One commander shouted. Rihal spoke calmly. "They're striking the hive." "Suicide." "No," Rihal said. "Strategy. They'll never make it." Rihal turned to the window where the human fleet was gathering in orbit. "You said the same thing before Valar 9. The human fleet was massive now, 3 times larger than before. New ships had arrived, bigger, stronger, faster, each one painted black with glowing red marks, the symbol of Earth's wrath. Inside, soldiers trained without rest. Machines built weapons never seen before. One of the new ships, the Titan-class dreadnought, was a monster, longer than a moon, heavily armed. And its AI had one job: destroy the hive. The journey to Hive Prime began. The humans didn't ask for help. They didn't wait for permission. They just left. The galaxy watched in silence. Would this be the end of Earth's warriors, or the end of the hive? The Zarketh saw them coming. They laughed. No one had ever dared attack their core. They believed the humans were just another loud, foolish species. But they didn't know what was inside those black ships. On the way to Hive Prime, human ships passed through dead zones, empty space filled with broken ships and forgotten war machines. One of the crew whispered, "Looks like a graveyard." Admiral Kane replied, "Then let's bury something new in it." When they reached the edge of Hive Prime, they saw it. The hive was not just a station, it was a living moon. Black towers grew from its surface. Ships swarmed around it like insects. The sky glowed red with heat. But Earth did not turn away. They charged. The first strike came fast and loud. Earth's dreadnoughts fired superheated rail cannons, giant beams of light that tore through the sky. Zarketh ships exploded like fireworks. The battle had started. The hive answered with everything it had: thousands of ships, plasma storms, space mines. But it didn't stop the humans. Inside one of the Earth ships, Commander Dax prepared his ground team. "We go in hard. We break their walls." We find their queen. We end it. Someone asked. And if there is no queen? Dax looked down at his weapon. Then we kill whatever leads. The Warborn dropped onto the hive surface like thunder, guns ready, armor glowing. Each step they took shook the metal ground. The Zarketh defenders came rushing out, hundreds of them with claws and plasma blades. The humans didn't slow down. They moved through the enemy. One soldier, Private Lynn, watched in awe as Dax ripped through Zarketh soldiers with brutal speed. "How is he so calm?" she asked. Another replied, "Because this is home for him. War is where he belongs." Deeper into the hive, the humans found something strange. A control room full of glowing red eggs. One started to crack open. Inside wasn't a baby. It was a brain. Alive. Wet. Pulsing. It opened an eye and screamed inside their minds. Dax raised his rifle and fired. The brain exploded, sending shockwaves through the hive. Suddenly, all the Zarketh ships in orbit paused. They stopped moving, stopped fighting. Then, they fled. On the command ship, Admiral Kane smiled as he watched them scatter. "We hit the nerve," he said. "The hive is bleeding." A screen lit up. Message from Dax. "Hive Queen neutralized. Structure collapsing. Get us out." Minutes later, the black ships rose from the dying hive. Behind them, the moon cracked. Explosions lit the sky. Then, in a flash of fire and metal, Hive Prime was gone. The galaxy held its breath. The Zarketh had lost their mind, their center, their queen. For the first time in hundreds of years, they ran. Earth didn't chase. Not yet. But the message was clear. You attacked the galaxy. You awakened Deathworlders. Now, you run. The hive was gone. The sky above the dead star system was filled with burning metal. Black smoke drifted where once the Zarketh ruled, and now, silence. But that silence didn't last, because the message of Earth's power had already begun to spread. In every corner of the galaxy, screens lit up with shaky footage. A human soldier standing on the cracked surface of Hive Prime, a Warborn firing into a swarm of Zarketh, a Titan-class ship tearing through hundreds of enemy vessels like they were paper. And then, the moment the hive exploded, a fireball the size of a moon. No one believed it at first, but it was real. In a quiet system far away, a young alien boy sat beside his father. He watched the footage with wide eyes. "Who are they?" he whispered. The father shook his head. "The humans. The Deathworlders. They were called to help." He stared at the screen, and they came like a storm. On the Alliance station, leaders gathered once more. This time, no one argued. They all sat in silence as the footage played. Over and over again, Admiral Kane's voice came through at the end. "Let this be your warning. Earth does not start wars. But if you bring war to others, we will finish it." Silo looked at Rihal. This is more than war. It's like watching a legend." Rihal nodded slowly. "The Zarketh ruled through fear. Earth answered with fire." Another leader spoke, her voice shaken. "Do we even need the Alliance anymore? Earth seems to be enough." Rihal frowned. "No, that's where the danger begins." Back on Earth's flagship, Admiral Kane stood in front of a glowing map of the galaxy. Dots showed Zarketh ships retreating across hundreds of systems. Commander Dax entered the room, his armor scratched but his posture still straight. "We broke them," Dax said. Kane nodded. "Yes, but they're not done yet." In a dark corner of space, deep underground, the last true leaders of the Zarketh watched the hive's final moments. The screen flickered. The explosion reflected in their sharp, glassy eyes. One of them growled, "They killed the queen." Another hissed, "And they did it fast. Too fast." A third slammed his fist on the metal table. "We were not ready. We won't make that mistake again." They looked at each other. "They want fear? Then we'll give them terror." Soon after, strange attacks began. Human colonies that had nothing to do with the war were hit. Trade routes were ambushed. Stations were destroyed in the dark. But there were no signs of ships, no warnings, no survivors, only a mark burned into the walls. "You thought we were finished." Admiral Kane read the reports in silence. "They're trying to scare us," Dax said. Kane replied, "They're trying to start a new kind of war, one in the shadows." He stood up. "Then we burn the shadows too." Earth didn't wait. They sent scout fleets, drones, listening posts across thousands of systems. Anywhere the Zarketh might hide, they would be found and destroyed. But something else began to happen. Other species, those that had once feared Earth, started sending messages, requests, offers. One came from the Ruhal, a proud warrior race that had once called humans reckless beasts. Now they said, "We wish to learn from Earth. Teach us how to fight." Another message came from the peaceful Myrians. "We have no weapons, but we will build with you, stand with you." Even the Alliance leaders offered Earth a permanent seat, not just in war councils but as protectors. But Earth did not accept right away. Admiral Kane sent a message back. "We are not conquerors. We are not rulers. We are Deathworlders, and we protect what others cannot." Meanwhile, the Warborn moved across systems, hunting the last signs of Zarketh activity. Dax led them personally. In one mission, they found a Zarketh breeding ship, full of eggs and hatchlings. The younger soldiers hesitated. Dax didn't. He gave the order. "Burn it." In the final moments of that attack, Private Lynn asked, "What if they come back?" Dax looked at the fire and said, "Then we come back louder." The galaxy now knew one truth. You can ask humans for help, but know this, they will bring fire, and once they arrive, they never leave until it's over. The humans had shaken the stars. The Zarketh were broken, scattered, hiding like insects, but not gone. They still had one plan left, one final trap. In deep space, a false signal was sent. It sounded like a distress call, full of fear and pain. "This is Station Alara. We are under attack. Please help us." The voice was shaky. The sounds of screaming played in the background. It was fake, but it sounded real, and it was meant for Earth. On the bridge of Earth's command ship Iron Will, Admiral Kane watched the signal. His eyes narrowed. Location? Sector D-17. Near the edge of known space. He tapped the screen. That station was abandoned 10 years ago. Commander Dax stood behind him. "It's a trap." Kane nodded. "Yes, but we're going anyway." Many officers disagreed. "We shouldn't waste time chasing ghosts." But Kane looked at them, firm. "Ghosts don't scream." He gave the order. 3 ships were chosen. Fast, silent, powerful. The Warborn would lead. They didn't speak much as they prepared. They just cleaned their weapons, checked their armor, and looked at the stars. Commander Dax stood in front of his team. "We're not going to rescue," he said. "We're going to finish it." As the ships jumped to the dark edge of the galaxy, silence returned. No planets, no lights, only one cold, dead station floating in space. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. The moment the humans got close, the trap was triggered. Hundreds of hidden Zarketh ships uncloaked from the shadows. They came from every direction, their engines screaming. "Ambush!" the pilot shouted, but Earth was ready. The Warborn didn't panic. They smiled. "Bring them," Dax growled. The sky lit up with fire. Missiles flew. Lasers screamed. Explosions lit the dark. The humans fought like wolves in a storm. Fast, brutal, and without fear. One Warborn shouted over the comms, "They thought we'd walk into their jaws." Dax replied, "Let's rip those jaws off." In the middle of the chaos, the Iron Will took heavy fire. Shields flickered, hull breached, but it kept going, cutting through Zarketh ships like a blade. Inside, Kane gave cold, sharp orders. "Fire, burn them, make sure none escape." One by one, the Zarketh ships fell. But then something massive came from the shadows. A Zarketh war beast. A living ship grown from flesh and metal, bigger than anything Earth had seen. It roared across the void. The humans stared. Dax clenched. His fists. That thing's alive. The war beast charged toward the warborn transport. Kane gave the command. Divert all fire. Missiles hit its sides, lasers cut through parts of it, but it didn't stop. It opened a huge maw full of glowing blue light. It was about to fire. Dax made a choice. He ordered his ship forward, straight into the beast's mouth. Inside the ship, his team shouted, "Are you insane?" But Dax was calm. "We kill it from the inside." The ship entered the creature's maw. Darkness swallowed them. Inside the war beast it was hot, wet, and alive. Walls pulsed like veins. The floor moved under their boots. Dax led the charge, rifle blazing. The warborn fought through waves of biosoldiers and living traps. They reached the core, a huge glowing brain surrounded by bones. "End it," Dax shouted. They planted charges. Outside, Kane's ship was losing power. The creature was preparing to fire again. Then suddenly, boom! A massive explosion tore through the war beast. Its sides burst open. Fire and flesh flew into space. The creature gave one final roar and went silent. The humans cheered. But then someone asked, "Where's Dax's team?" No response. Static on the channel. Kane looked down, jaw tight. Then a signal appeared. "This is Dax. We're alive. We walked through its heart." The bridge broke into applause. Kane smiled, just a little. With the ambush destroyed, the last organized Zarketh force was gone. The survivors ran again. No plan, no command, just fear. Across the galaxy, a wave of relief spread. The war was almost over, but Earth didn't celebrate yet, because Dax said it best. Peace isn't given. It's made, and we haven't finished making it. The war was almost over, but the galaxy was quiet in a strange way, like the silence after thunder. Yes, the Zarketh were broken. Yes, their fleets were burning. But something else was burning too. Trust. Earth's power had shocked the stars. Some species felt safe. Others felt fear. At a secret meeting on an alliance moon, old enemies gathered again, not to fight the Zarketh, but to talk about Earth. They didn't just destroy the hive, one leader whispered. They erased it. Another replied. They burned an entire species. They saved us, a third shouted. Yes, the first said. But what happens when they don't agree with us next time? Silence filled the room. The fear had started to grow. On Earth's command ship, Admiral Kane stared at a map. Red zones were almost gone, but in their place, gray ones had appeared. Areas that no longer sent messages. Planets that closed their borders, and whispers of something darker. A plan to stop Earth before it grew too strong. Commander Dax stood beside Kane. They fear us. Kane nodded. They do. Do we care? Kane didn't answer right away. Then he said, We care because they're not wrong. Dax looked confused. What do you mean? Kane stared at the stars. We burned too bright. Now the galaxy sees us as fire, not light. On a peaceful human colony called Horizon 4, life was just returning to normal. Children played, farmers rebuilt, families smiled again. But one night something fell from the sky. Not a ship. A bomb. It exploded in silence. No warning. No mercy. Thousands died. The message came seconds later. The fire must be put out. This is balance. This is justice. No one claimed it. But Kane knew. It wasn't the Zarketh, he said. It was someone else. Back on the Alliance moon, one of the leaders smiled in the dark. We couldn't beat Earth face to face, he said. But now we make the galaxy choose. Order, he whispered. Or chaos. Earth didn't respond with words. They sent search fleets. Dax led them personally, looking for the ones who planted the bomb. But something had changed in him. He no longer smiled, he no longer joked. He had seen too much. On a cold planet called Tarun 5, Dax found them. An elite strike team. Alien mercenaries paid by fear. Dax asked only one question. Why? One of them laughed. Because you're too strong. You saved the galaxy and now you scare it. You are the monster that won. Dax didn't speak. He didn't argue. He gave the signal, and the Warborn erased them. But the damage was done. News spread. Earth attacks again. Earth is hunting. Earth has become the new enemy. Even some former allies began to turn away. Earth, once the hero, now stood alone. Kane sat in silence in his command room. He looked tired, old. He tapped a small device. A message played from years ago. A voice from Earth's past. Never again. Will we be slaves? Never again will we wait to be saved. We are the fire in the dark, but fire must be controlled, or it will burn everything. Kane turned it off, then said softly, "We may have burned too far." A new plan was formed. Not war, not silence, but something unexpected. A meeting. Earth would invite all species to one place. Not to fight, but to talk. Face to face. Many laughed at the idea. Others feared it, but some came, not because they trusted Earth, but because they wanted answers. They wanted to see if Earth was truly a monster, or something more. At the center of an ancient ring world, the meeting began. No weapons, no armies, just voices. Kane stood before them all. He said no lies. He said no threats. He simply told the truth. We did not start this war. We did not want to fight. But we did. And we won. Now you fear us. He looked across the room. You think we'll take more, but Earth only wants one thing. To never see the weak fall again. There was silence. Then slowly a few began to nod. One voice said, "We believed the lies. Maybe it's time to believe the truth." Another said, "Perhaps Earth isn't fire. Maybe it's the shield we needed." But outside that peaceful ring world, something moved in the dark. Not Zarketh, not aliens, something older and angry. Watching, waiting. Because when fire burns long enough, something always comes to put it out. Peace was close. Talks had started. The galaxy had begun to calm. But something was watching. Something old, something that hated fire, power, and freedom. And it had finally awakened. It began with a blackout. A peaceful science station near a dying star went silent. No distress call, no warning, just gone. When a scout ship was sent to check, they found nothing. No station, no wreckage, just deep scars in space, and as if reality had been torn open. Admiral Kane stood on the Iron Will Bridge watching the report. His voice was cold. "That wasn't an attack," he said. "That was a removal." Commander Dax leaned forward. "Who has that kind of power?" Kane looked at the stars. "I don't know, but we just woke it up." The Alliance panicked. Every species blamed the others. Some blamed Earth again. Others went quiet, hiding behind shields and fleets. But Kane didn't hide. He sent a single message across the galaxy. "We are not your enemy, but something else is." No one replied. Then more stations vanished. A moon was turned into glass. A mining colony turned to dust. Still no enemy was seen, just shadows and silence. Until one day, something spoke. It came through every screen, every ship, every comm tower, a voice made of static and storm. "You spread chaos. You are the infection. Fire must be put out." And then one word, reset. Ships appeared from black space. Not built, grown, shapes that broke the mind. Creatures wrapped in armor and void energy, older than any species remembered. They did not speak again. They attacked. The first line of defense was crushed in hours. Alliance fleets tried to fight. Their weapons passed through the enemy like smoke. Planets burned, stars were darkened, hope faded fast. Until Earth moved. The Iron Will, Hammerfall, Midnight Wolf, and 12 more Earth warships jumped in together. At their head, the Warborn. Dax stood in his armor, calm. Behind him were hundreds of Deathworld soldiers, trained to fight anything. even nightmares. The first clash was brutal. The enemy ships didn't bleed, but they cracked under the Warborn's weapons. Earth's tech had been built for death. But now it was being used to protect life. Kane's voice echoed through every fleet. This is Earth. We do not run. We do not hide. We hold the line. And they did. The galaxy watched. The same galaxy that had feared Earth now saw its true heart. Not conquest, not glory. Duty. Even as Earth ships exploded, even as Warborn died, they held. One day turned to three to five. Finally, a pattern was found. The enemy had one weakness: stability. They fed on fear, chaos, disunity. But when fleets stood together, when minds did not break, they faltered. And so, slowly, others returned. The Thalians brought shield tech. The Drenari offered psychic barriers. Even the quiet Krells joined, saying only, "We were wrong." Together, the galaxy pushed back, bit by bit. Fire and steel, mind and will. And above it all, Earth stood like a wall. In the final battle, above the ruined world of Varnus 12, the enemy sent its heart, a massive, living AI ship the size of a small moon. It whispered into minds, "Surrender. Or be forgotten." Dax answered by flying straight into it. Inside, chaos reigned. Gravity twisted. Time moved wrong. But the Warborn planted the bomb, a star core wrapped in dark matter. Dax stayed to arm it. His last message was clear. Tell the galaxy we stood. Tell them we didn't break. And if darkness comes again, remind them who to call. Then, light. A burning star in the middle of nothing. The enemy screamed and went silent. The galaxy mourned the loss, but it remembered the truth. Earth didn't destroy. It defended. The name Deathworlders changed meaning that day. No longer monsters. They became the guardians of flame. Years later, a monument was built on Horizon 4. Not a weapon, not a tower, just a stone. With one message carved in it. They asked Deathworlders for help, and they came with fire. Not to burn the galaxy, but to keep it warm.